Now on Brooklyn News Live, a tragic New Year's fire at a Swiss bar is leaving hundreds injured, dozens dead. We're talking all about that coming up here in just a few moments. Plus, an investigation into a thwarted attack in Charlotte, North Carolina. A suspect has been arrested. It was all said to be a terrorist attack. We're talking all about that as well. Plus, national and world politics lead. What's going on there? We're giving you an update on Trump's health. He's coming out in this new interview. We're talking all about it. Plus, already some laws have come out here in Arkansas as we begin the year 2026. That and more coming up right here on Brooklyn News Live.
It's time for all the news you need and more. Brooklyn News Live starts right now.
And welcome into Brooklyn News Live. So good to be with you all in this new reframed type of edition here. We're only gonna be talking to you guys for about 1 hour or so, but we do have a lot we are planning to get to right now. It is good to be with you. I am Jackson Mitchell. We are going to start first with some news we are getting right now. It's going to be out of Switzerland. I want to take you to it. First here, of course, and we're having some issues with our graphics, so if you'll just stand by with me on that. But here is a look from earlier today in Crans, Montana, Switzerland. Of course, a growing memorial there. Around 40 people said to be dead, over 100 said here to be injured. So we've been following that throughout the last little bit here, and as we've gotten updates, we have been bringing them to you. The cause here, at this point in time, authorities are believing it was a sparkler candles placed here on champagne bottles at that celebration. So this is all, of course, something we've been following. We brought you updates yesterday and a look at the memorial. This time, the memorial growing so much larger. Emergency crews have been on scene. Of course, dozens of ambulances, multiple helicopters. Swiss officials at this point in time have declared a 5-day period of mourning. It is, of course, something we are going to keep our eyes on as soon as we get more updates on this. Of course, we will bring that to you. Again, you're taking a look at some scenes from earlier today in Crans, Montana, Switzerland, of course, where this massive fire broke out at the Le Constellation Bar, of course, in Crans, Montana. There, we will continue to follow that. Okay, we want to take you to some other news that we are following right now. The FBI in Charlotte, North Carolina says they have thwarted an attack, a terrorist attack planned for New Year's Eve. It was planned by a recently turned 18-year-old Christian Sturdivant. A press conference was held earlier. I want to play some of that video. We'll have reaction here on the other side.
There's an 18-year-old named Christian Sturdivant. He has been planning this attack for about a year, but he's been planning an attack for far longer than that. He was planning this attack in support of ISIS, and we have charged him with attempting to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization, that organization being, of course, ISIS. Now, this is still very much an active investigation. We had to act quickly here to protect the public, so we are light on details, but we'll tell you as much as we can, and Mr. Barnacle will probably tell you more than I will about those charges, but I thought I would give you an overview of what's in the federal complaint and the charges that we charged. So Mr. Sturdivant started on the internet. He started reading ISIS material, started going to ISIS websites, making TikTok videos, and eventually reached out to what he thought was a member of ISIS. In reality, was an undercover agent with NYPD in New York. He pledged his allegiance to ISIS with that undercover agent, and he disclosed his plans to, quote, do jihad soon. He then met a second undercover with the FBI, who he also thought was an ISIS participant, and he started to be very specific with his plans. He talked with that undercover agent, again, who he thought was ISIS. He talked about where he was planning to do this attack, which was at a grocery store and a fast food restaurant in Mint Hill, places that we go every day and don't think that we may be harmed. He talked about what means he would use to kill innocent people. He said he was going to wear a Kevlar vest and attack people with knives and hammers. And of course, he talked about when he was going to carry out this attack, which was New Year's Eve. A time when American life is on full display, right? We're all out there in crowds celebrating all that has happened this year, all that is to come, that we are so proud of. And that is when he planned his attack to attack that American way of life. And of course, he talked about when.
So there you go. There was that press conference there from just earlier today. The man, again, you heard him there. He recently turned 18. His birthday was back in December. His name has been identified. You'll see his photo appear on your screen here in just a few moments. His name there, Christian Sturdivant. He has been booked into the jail there in Mecklenburg County, over in Charlotte, North Carolina. You heard there's the suspect now on your screen. But what's so interesting is you heard there the official there in that press conference saying that this began on social media. He even had a TikTok account. And you'll see, I believe, in this scroll of images, an image that reveals a TikTok post where he kind of stated some information related to ISIS. So in no way was it really kind of a hidden plan. I mean, he was posting publicly about this stuff. It was a 2-week long investigation. He could face up to 20 years in federal prison. You heard there was also a talk a little bit on kind of trying to self-commit himself into prison. That ultimately, the judge there, the federal judge, not ruling in favor of that all. They mentioned that as well in that press conference. Again, the suspect had just turned 18. He ultimately, as also revealed in that press conference, he was caught because he had reached out to an undercover NYPD, which is the New York Police Department investigator there. And ultimately, of course, that got back to the FBI in local authorities there in Charlotte. Mint Hill was where this was all going down in North Carolina, of course, just close to Charlotte. So we're going to continue to follow this information as we learn more. We're going to sneak in our first break of the hour here. We do have a lot more coming up on Brookland News Live. We're still going to delve into the nearly over 5 million, I should say, Epstein files. The DOJ now says it is going through, all as they are continuing to release more of those documents related to the investigation. We're also still talking about Jack Smith. He is the special counsel who was since quit his job, but he tried to prosecute Trump in 2 different cases. Deposition that he gave to Congress has been released. Still a lot to come up right here on Brookland News Live. In the meantime, a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back into Brooklyn News here on Jackson Mitchell. Our continued coverage of the release of the Epstein files. So there has been so much news there. We want to continue it all. We want to get to it. And that news from today's headline, of course, we'll likely be covering this every day from now until all these files are released and all the bombshells are out of the way. Excuse me. The DOJ now says they are reviewing over 5.2 million Epstein related documents there. So that is the new update, at least what they're saying right now. It's already caused a lot of controversy because the two sponsors of this bill that forced the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files, Thomas Massey and the Democratic Representative Ro Khanna, now saying, well, hey, you're not actually following what our law says, yet they have not taken any action because the law will actually lead to the DOJ being fined, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General there, being fined each day that not all of these documents are released. No action yet has been taken on that. So it's going to be a question here again of what goes down there. Of course, we have this. We're able to show it to you, I believe, just this article coming out. This is PBS reporting on all of this. Confirming our information here again that they're reviewing 5.2 million Jeffrey Epstein files. The question is, when will this incomplete release come? Their date was back in December. It was mid-December, I believe, December 20th, if my mind proves me correctly here. And all of those files have yet to be released. So that's going to be the big question here, if we will see a release of all of those files anytime soon. Of course, the DOJ asking for some extra time there. This is going to be something we will continue to follow. I want to take you right now to some more news we are following, and that is over on Capitol Hill, because over on Capitol Hill right now, they have released an over the committee there, the House Judiciary Committee, has released an over 8-hour long deposition from the former special counsel Jack Smith. Of course, he was the one that led those two cases. One involving allegations that Trump mishandled and willfully retained classified documents over at Mar-a-Lago. We did a lot of coverage on that before we even did live stuff. I believe we were doing news reports on that. And then he also handled another case which alleged Trump conspired to overturn the certified results of the 2020 presidential election and obstructed the transfer of power there. Now, in his deposition, Smith told lawmakers his team, quote, had proof beyond a reasonable doubt of Trump's actions in both cases was, quote, most culpable in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Of course, as you might expect it, we do have some video into this all that we want to play for you guys, showing you some of the deposition that Jack Smith did in fact give. It looks like we might be having an issue here. There we go. A little freeze up there. This is what technology does to us, of course, as soon as we don't want it to. Okay, here is Jack Smith this is, of course, just a few clips from that deposition. Give it just a moment, and it should play here. Any moment now.
To the extent members of Congress and senators are up in arms that this happened to them and they're seeking accountability, who should be held accountable for answering these questions?
Well, I think who should be accountable for this is Donald Trump. These records are people, in the case of the senators, Donald Trump directed his co-conspirators to call these people to further delay the proceedings. He chose to do that. If Donald Trump had chosen to call a number of Democratic senators, we would have got toll records for a number of Democratic senators.
You just made some pretty definitive statements about, your belief that President Trump was guilty of these charges. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe we had proof beyond a reasonable doubt in both cases.
So there you go. There was just a few clips from that deposition from Jack Smith there, of course. He has since left his role as a special prosecutor, but revealing more into this, saying they had proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but also they're saying that if pretty much if Donald Trump was not there, January 6th would not have happened. That's what Jack Smith as well kind of indicated within this nearly 8 hour long deposition that has been released. Of course, Trump has publicly, very publicly, I should say, criticized the former special prosecutor, saying, quote, he's a disgrace and a, quote, deranged prosecutor, dismissing the allegations, often calling the prosecutions that Smith was bringing against Trump a, quote, witch hunt. Trump added that Smith, quote, left town empty-handed, claiming the prosecutions did not succeed. Of course, in the middle of all of this, he won the election. Courts weren't really ruling in favor of what Jack Smith had going on in those cases. And since then, the cases have kind of been dismissed and kind of left the room, essentially because he became president. So that's the update there on those cases against President Trump, but also this deposition that has been released into Jack Smith. Before we leave you here for another quick break, we want to take you a quick look at your forecast, where things stand for the weekend.
To the
On
extent,
the other side,
members of Congress and senators are up in arms that this happened to them,
okay,
and they're seeking accountability.
a few difficulties. We're back. I apologize about that. I was going to say, before we sneak away, let's take a look at your forecast, and it should play for you now with no complications as soon as that pops up on your screen. Where I was going with that, of course, as we take a look there at your forecast tonight, we're looking at about 36 degrees. It's been a little rainy today, as we've seen throughout the last little bit. Some possible showers Saturday, Sunday. Take a look there. We'll have more right after this quick break. And welcome back here into Brooklyn is Live. So good to be with you all still as we continue our coverage. I want to start right now give me one moment here. There we go. I want to start right now with check into your forecast here in Brooklyn. Any moment now, you should see a live shot on your screen. There you go. There's a look at that RDOT camera here in Brooklyn. You can see the sign, the McDonald's sign there. As we continue, it's been a rainy day here in Brooklyn. That's not going to continue tomorrow. The sun will peek out, but it won't be until the evening that we see that. Let's start with tonight, though. 36 degrees, what we're looking at is tonight's low. As we go in a little later into January, the 3rd of January, Saturday, 46, 29 is that low. It's going to be a slow, not really sunny start. Sun peaks out in the evening, though. By Sunday, it's going to be partly cloudy. We're going to see the sun, but a few clouds might block it as the day goes through. A high of 47, a low of 33. So, again, we'll keep an eye there on your forecast and what happens there, what the update might be from there as we continue to follow those storms you're seeing. You're seeing right there on your screen in Brooklyn. We'll continue to keep our eye on this RDOT camera. If anything happens there, we'll bring it to you live here, of course, on Brooklyn News Live. It is 2:23 still. So much news to get to. We're breaking it down all for you. We want to go right now to a quick update on sports. And if you will ignore me here, I'm going to have to be looking at the papers for just a moment, just so I can make sure that we're getting all of the information I'm reading to you correctly, because of course New Year's Day brought a few of those bowls coming out playing. We'll start up with the Rose Bowl, Indiana versus Alabama. Indiana came out firing, really never looking back. The final score there, Indiana 38 to Alabama's only 3. So quite a shocking game there. If the sports lovers are joining me right now, was a game a pretty upsetting game for the Roll Tides of Arkansas. So Indiana again taking the win there. The quarterback Fernando Mendoza threw multiple touchdowns, and Indiana's defense completely shut down Alabama. As I just said, holding them to just 3 points. Of course, a big win there as they move on further in the college football playoffs. Over in the Orange Bowl, Oregon faced Texas Tech. Defense ruled the day there. Oregon didn't let Tech score a single point. The final score there, 23-0. The Ducks' defense forced turnovers and dominated all game long, punching their ticket to the next round. So good luck, Oregon, there. We'll see what happens in that. The Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the big one everybody watches, I think. It was on in my house, at least. It was back and forth, short down to 39-34. Ole Miss ultimately taking the win there. So, of course, we've covered it right here on Brooklyn News. Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss. They appointed a new coach there. He's moving to LSU, of course. Now Ole Miss under new coaching. So I've been watching to see how that plays out. Ole Miss taking the win here again to Georgia's 39-34. There is that final score. New Year's Day recap there. Indiana, Oregon, Georgia. I should say Indiana, Oregon, and Ole Miss all moving forward in the college football playoff. Again, that shakeup there in Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin leaving. He wanted to stay till the end of the season, but they said, well, no, essentially there. So we'll have more highlights on some of those bowls. There's been bowl games already happening today. I know the Rice versus Texas State game that was happening. It might be over at this point in time. That was today at 12. Right after we get off the air at 3:30, the Navy versus Cincinnati in the Liberty Bowl, going to the Wake Forest versus Mississippi State. That is tonight at 7 p.m. Also in the Holiday Bowl tonight at 7 as well, Arizona versus SMU. So tons of big games to watch there. We do want to sneak in another quick break here. We will have more coming up for you on the other side of this break. And welcome back into Brooklyn News Live here. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Our continued coverage here as we approach the second half of the 2 o'clock hour here. We want to take a look at some of those Arkansas laws already taking effect in 2026. And I just realized you guys have probably already noticed the air. It is fixed. January 2nd, 2026. That's why you always got to proofread yourself, and I did not do that. That's why you kind of rushed to get on the air today here at 2 for this edition of Brooklyn News Live. Okay, I'm going to look down, read my papers here, read my notes, see what we got going on, because as you know, this show is unscripted. It's simply, I'll tell you behind the scenes look here. I just have bullet points. So the information from my mind and what those bullet points say to me. There is no script. So there's no teleprompter in front of this camera. It's just a camera, and I just stare at it and read what is coming out of my brain here. So we'll say my brain's a teleprompter here. So I do have to look down for this segment here just to take a look at what Arkansas laws are taking effect already in 2026. Of course, you may have already seen this one. If you've been in the grocery store in the last 2 days, Arkansas sales tax, no more. So that revenue for the state of Arkansas, the Arkansas congressional members in Arkansas, I should say, saying there should be no more Arkansas sales tax. You still will see a tax, of course, federal taxes, and I believe there's a few other taxes you might also see there. Veteran property tax exemption. So there has been an expanded eligibility for disabled veterans. Again, that is for property taxes there, as well as a corporate relocation tax credit. It encourages headquarters of different companies to move to Arkansas for the limited taxes, corporate taxes that you will see there. So we'll see what comes about on that side of thing. The farmer sales tax ID card. There's not a lot of exemptions. It's simplified exemptions now for those farmers looking for that sales tax ID. Plus, a few healthcare coverage updates: lung cancer screenings, obesity treatment, birth center coverage, and lactation support. Those all now under some new design for the healthcare coverage that people get through the state of Arkansas. Plus, a few prescription and pharmacy changes. This new law, taking effect, of course, at the beginning of the year, has clarified claims and benefit manager rules. So we'll have to see what that brings, as well as blood type on driver's license, workforce system updates, and insurance policy updates there. So a lot going on there as Arkansas, of course, rings in this new year. Of course, grocery tax relief, veteran exemptions, expanded healthcare coverage, and more. Something the congressional members, politicians, Republican politicians, specifically here in Arkansas, most saying this is something that will make Arkansas work more effectively there. So, keeping on the tack of new laws taking effect this year, the Arkansas minimum wage is one of those states. It's not changing. It's going to remain right now at $11 an hour. But in other states, you'd be surprised if you're stuck under a rock, stuck under that Arkansas rock, I should say. Go over to Washington State. Their minimum wage is raising to $17.13 an hour. But in Washington State, they've got big cities like Seattle. Their minimum wage in the city of Seattle, $21 plus. Going to DC, it's $17.95 an hour, which you're like, holy, like it's only $11 here. But also, you got to think cost of living's up there. But to bring into some simplified civics facts, if you raise the minimum wage, people have to pay the people that have to make that minimum wage, meaning prices will go up. So prices, of course, going to be higher in big cities like that. Speaking of a city that many people will they go from Arkansas to New York. I've been twice now. They call it expensive there. $17 an hour in New York City and Long Island, Westchester, as well as the rest of the state. They're at $16 an hour. Connecticut, $16.94. California, $16.90. The federal minimum wage remained at $7.25 still. So that's how low that's the minimum states have to make. Here in Arkansas, we're at $11 an hour. Again, those big states, big cities, I should say, at $21 plus. That's just one, that's the city of Seattle, Washington there. So really just a lot going on in big cities like that. Want to take a look once again at your forecast as we cap off this week here. A look there at the weekend forecast tonight. It's going to be a little chilly, but it's going to be a little chilly all weekend. You want to bring that jacket maybe on Sunday if you're one of those that is going to be out towards the late latter part of your afternoon. Maybe it's a time to maybe take off the jacket. 47 degrees. I don't know how you all feel. I think I might keep my jacket on. That's just my personal thoughts there. So we'll have to see where that goes as well. We are going to continue to follow all of these major stories coming out. I'll just name a few here. The Switzerland bar fire. If we get any updates there, we will bring them to you. As well as, of course, these new released Epstein files. If there is a big bombshell that, of course, many people are looking for, we'll bring that to you right here as soon as we get it. And those New Year's celebrations, of course, many people capping off the new year. Of course, a devastating fire, though, in Switzerland. Again, we're going to keep you updated if we get any updates on that. Any updates, of course, political developments, of course, we talked just a little bit about the what's going on there in, I should say, the Jack Smith deposition. That's where I'm going there. I was trying to get it out of my mind there. We'll keep following if we get any more updates on that side of things. Congress, I believe they're still in their Christmas break, or I should say winter break. So I believe they return next week. We'll see what happens there. In the meantime, another quick break. The coverage picks up right after this. Welcome back into Brooklyn News Live here. I'm Jackson Mitchell. We're continuing our coverage right now with the story you won't want to miss here. Trump is providing a health update and it's simply kind of an unscheduled interview with the Washington Journal. I want to show you guys a photo, if you wouldn't mind, Charles. I'll show you a photo. This is the bruising on President Trump's hand. The question has been, okay, what's going on here, President Trump? What do you got going on there? So, at 79 years old, of course, he turns 80 this year. He gave a detailed interview to the Wall Street Journal about growing public scrutiny over his health and signs of aging. At this point in time, he's continuing to deny those concerns, saying uh, about his fitness for office, and insists critics are misreading normal aging signs. The concerns came after aides there questioned if he had shown signs of aging there. So as you continue to take a look at that photo, you can see some obvious bruising there on his right hand. Um, Trump, he deflected questions about hearing and fatigue. There's also, we don't have any video of it, I don't believe, but there was also some times during cabinet meetings that you would see him appear to have his eyes closed for quite some time. In this Washington Journal interview, he says photographers taking photos of me blinking, and then releasing it. Though video, I know I don't have it. You just have to trust me here. I hope you do. But he does close his eyes for, I mean, at least a minute or two. So the question was he dozing off there? Trump emphasizing in this interview that he simply just doesn't enjoy traditional exercise, saying attributing his health and energy to quote good genetics. He's also blamed the bruising. Of course, his press secretary a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago at this point in time, saying the bruising on his hands were due to shaking so many people's hands, and also that he takes aspirin. Trump said, "quote He takes that he does take aspirin, and his doctor has said to take a lower dose than he currently does of aspirin." He said in that interview, quote, "They say aspirin is good for thinning out the blood, and I don't want thick blood pouring through my heart. I want nice, thin blood pouring through my heart." Does that make sense? So that's Trump there in an interview there with the Washington Journal. Of course, an interview, it was not scheduled, simply a random interview with the Washington Journal giving an update on his health. He explained that also he had a medical imaging scan. At first, he had told reporters on Air Force One that it had been an MRI. His doctor and himself now clarifying that it was a CT scan, and said he regretted getting it because of the attention that it drew. So there is that update on Trump's health. Um, Trump has also in these images, I'll play that image for you one more time. He in this image, it doesn't appear that he has any makeup on it, but there's been a few other images that at least I've seen where they have tried to essentially cover it up uh with makeup. Um he says these injuries, of course, are minor injuries and are caused by handshakes, and his skin has become delicate. I believe we are able to show you a photo right now of some of that makeup covering it up. If you guys will stand by with me, I'm going to try to show you. This is from NBC News here. Okay, doesn't look like I'm going to be able. Okay, one moment here, guys. Okay, give me just one quick second. I'm gonna try to show you guys this image. Okay, I can show you guys the image now. Sorry, this is what I always say. This is what live news looks like. This is what live like doing it. Like I'm putting it together as we speak. So that is why sometimes it can. Here is the images showing him with the makeup on his hands. It should pop up on your screen at any moment now. There we go. There's the makeup on top of the bruises. He said it's just because his skin has become delicate. So that's the update right now from President Trump there. We'll continue to follow that. I want to take you right now to an event that occurred a little bit earlier as we close out the hour here. This might be something we do. I believe Zoran Mamdani, he had an event a little earlier, and I want to play a piece of that. I want to play the point in which he spoke. He signed an executive order there after becoming mayor of New York. Stand by here. I'm getting the feed ready as we speak here. So, um, okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a little bit of a difficulty here. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna sneak in a quick break. During that break, I'm gonna get this feed pulled up for you guys, and we will take a look at Zoran Mamdani held an event a little earlier. This was he was announcing the establishment of the Office of Mass Engagement, and of course a few additional appointments as well. I was gonna say we were gonna take a break, but it looks like I've gotten that feed to work for us. Let's go to it right now. Of course, Zoran Mamdani was recently sworn in. Yesterday was when he was sworn in. we aired it live here. There's a look at him signing a few papers in executive order, but also some of those appointments as well. He speaks right after this. So we will bring you him speaking as soon as he does. Yesterday, he was sworn in a public ceremony, but also at about 12 a.m. yesterday, as soon as the clock hit midnight, he was sworn in kind of the private, official kind of, this is the legal one, and then he was sworn in once again. That one, of course, wasn't, it was kind of a secondary, so he could have a swearing in ceremony in public and in private, right as the clock hit midnight as well. Here, let's turn up the audio and listen in. This is earlier today again, really just moments ago, was last hour, Zoran Mamdani speaking. Turn the audio up here. He does speak right after this as well. So again, I believe these are the appointments to the Office of Mass Engagement that is happening here. Doesn't appear we have any sound coming in just yet. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip to the point that he does begin speaking. So, okay, it looks like he's shaking the hands, and then he's going to speak right after this. There we go. So he's shaking the hands, and then he should speak. So let's just turn the audio up here and listen to this one and Donnie just moments ago in New York City.
And let's just do one still picture in the middle if possible.
Can you hold the legislation? Mayor, can you hold the legislation? Thank you. Here we go. One display, please. Everybody, here we go, guys. Down the middle, please. Thank you so much. Thank you. Middle. 4 TVs in the back.
Great, thank you guys. All right, now we're gonna take questions. You can take 10 steps back, please. Thank you.
Back, everyone, please. Back. Behind your stances.
Watch your back. Get back. Don't sit on him. Handicap.
I'm sitting. Give me a second. I'm an old man.
We're starting with on about your 2 officers.
All right, just before we start on topics, if we can have one last round of applause for Tasha Van Auken and Ali Najmi. And now we can begin with all the on-topic questions.
Mr. Mayor, how are you doing?
How's it going? Good. A little colder than I thought, so I'm going to put the gloves on for a second.
Real leather or
I have 2 questions. Can I do an on-topic after? I'm not going to sit for my notes. So the on-topic is about the office, the new engagement office. Obviously, Tasha, you worked a lot on the campaign side, and it's like that's separate from government, separate C4 that's trying to market as volunteer forces. Can you explain what are like the legal differences in what you're going to do and what that group and your work before? Like, how do they differ? And then I had a follow-up.
So I'll just speak a little bit to it, and if you want to add anything, feel free. The work of civic engagement has existed before. Today it has been a part of city government. However, it has often been siloed in different parts of city government infrastructure, sometimes under different offices, sometimes through different initiatives. Part of the intent of this executive order is not just to create a new office of mass engagement, but also to cohere all of the work that is already being done into one place, so that we can ensure that it's not duplicative and it's actually fulfilling its intent. And then the other part of this is to transform what government deems to be acceptable when it comes to public engagement and outreach. Oftentimes, the outreach and engagement of city government is done with an intention to justify a decision that's already been taken. The point of this office is, however, to make decisions with a large part being what the public actually thinks about those decisions. And I can think of no one better than this New Yorker to my left, who fundamentally reshaped what so many across the city, including myself, thought was possible in terms of the engagement in a citywide race to bring more than 100,000 people out to knock on doors and make phone calls. Do you want to add anything? Feel free. Sounds good.
So what's the budget for this new office? And then also, is this, I know today is just day 2, but is this also a way to ensure that you are able to keep everybody engaged so you can get reelected again?
I have to tell you, this is done with the intention of delivering for New Yorkers today, delivering for New Yorkers every single day. And I think what is so critical is that we have an opportunity in this moment where New Yorkers are allowing themselves to believe in the possibility of city government once again. That is not a belief that will sustain itself in the absence of action, in the absence of actually delivering for them. And so it is right now in a moment like this where we need to institute this kind of an office, this kind of an approach. And I would also say there is a through line between the actions taken to establish this new office and also the appointment of Ali Najmi in leading the recruitment and outreach efforts for our judicial system. Because too often, the ability for a New Yorker to become a judge has been determined by who they know as opposed to the work that they do. And what Ali is going to bring forth is a newfound focus on ensuring that not only does our judicial system reflect the city that it serves, but also that it reflects a commitment to excellence and an application of the law in a universal manner.
How many employees? Will they be civil service or will they be appointees?
There are a number of employees within this office that are already working for the city within previously existing offices, and then the specifics of how it will expand beyond that is something that we will be sharing later.
I was talking to Sal Albanese this morning, and he said one of your best qualities is you're a really good listener.
That's very kind of him.
With respect to this new agency, can you give us an example of a time where you spoke to the public or a group of stakeholders and it made you change your mind on a certain policy or issue?
You know, a few years ago, I was an assembly member conducting a number of meetings on the MTA. My chief of staff, L. Bisgard Church, and I were looking to put together a campaign in Albany that would look to fix the MTA. And so we had meetings with journalists, meetings with policy experts, meetings with MTA officials themselves. It was actually an MTA official who told me in one of those meetings that if you really cared about equity, you would focus more on the bus. And it was soon after in a meeting that I had with a friend of mine, Alicia Singh, who brought up the fact that in order to deliver not only in terms of economic relief, but also in terms of public safety, this would mean it's a pretty good song. This would mean also making buses free. And those are meetings that then informed our approach not just to that legislative session, but then actually became a hallmark of the campaign that we ran.
To do the same.
Yes, and I think this comes back from a belief that too often in politics, there is a temptation to pretend as if you have all the answers already, when in fact there is no New Yorker that has a monopoly on the answers that this city is asking questions towards. We need to have leadership and a city government that knows the answers to the most pressing questions, big and small in this city, could come from New Yorkers themselves. The answers to the very questions that are flummoxing so many in the highest levels of government could in fact be answered by those that we are currently walking past or overlooking or not even listening to. And what I so love about Tasha and her work is that she sees within each person a potential to be that leader. She gives them not only the room to grow, but the belief that they can and they must grow. And that is also something that we have to deliver for New Yorkers at large.
Hi, Darla Miles, Channel 7.
Yes, how are you?
Congratulations, day one.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
This is obviously a massive undertaking, right? Coalescing all of these individual agencies in such a large city government. On a granular level, what can you tell New Yorkers right now of what that process of streamlining that is going to look like? And then on, you know, after you already have these strategic initiatives, but when they should actually expect to see something, you know, what a timeline might look like, what the infrastructure might look like right now, and then what that timeline might be, where people can actually become involved and see some results.
Absolutely. So I think first and foremost, this has an immediate impact in terms of restructuring city government itself, where we are taking these existing initiatives and agencies, bringing them together, and that is something that will change from today. And then it will change in terms of what we expect of ourselves and how we start to engage with the public at large. And that's partially why I said we should not be measured on the number of meetings we hold or the number of surveys that are filled out. We should in fact be measured by the way in which we incorporate that feedback into the decisions that we make. And that's something that I look forward to working with my commissioner on, to ensure that New Yorkers feel a difference in this era of New York City government, as opposed to are just told about that difference. Thank you very much.
Off topic as well, yeah. This one's still on topic. Great. Okay. I have a question for the commissioner. Do you plan, so you're going to be getting feedback from New Yorkers to incorporate into city government, but the mayor also has this huge agenda that's going to need support from other levels of government, and there's been discussion of using DSA and using this mass volunteer movement that you've built to pressure the governor to support some of these initiatives, like taxing the rich. Is that going to be part of this office? When I just re-up Bernadette's question about the budget and how much staff are you going to have?
So I'm going to demand the world from Tasha in her new position as the commissioner of the Office of Mass Engagement, and I'm also going to give her more than 5 minutes before she gets into the position to have to answer some of the specifics around budget and personnel, though I do assure you that this is going to be an office that will have the backing of myself as the mayor of this city. And yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the inauguration, I mentioned in my speech that let us not allow victory to become an invitation to turn off the news. We have seen sometimes in our politics a description of success as the ability for Americans to return back to their lives. We want to make clear that our successes will be achieved together with the New Yorkers who brought us to this point and all others that call this city their home. And so that means that our agenda is not one that is going to be fought for simply behind the closed doors of city and state government, but rather one that the very New Yorkers who are here today and those that are hard at work across the city will be a part of advocating for. Because it is those New Yorkers that actually determined this agenda in the first place. And it is those New Yorkers who will be alongside us as we not only fight for this, but win this.
Hi, Mr. Najmi. Congratulations.
New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani there answering a few questions. After a little bit of some appointments there in the middle of the city, you've heard some of the noise there. That's just New York City on a regular day basis there. So we'll continue to follow this story. Of course, new appointments there. Of course, it's a big deal when the mayor of the biggest city here in the United States is holding press conferences, and we want to make sure that we're getting that all the news you need, the and more part to that to all of you. So a lot still breaking today. I'll just take you through some of the headlines that we've been following throughout the last little bit. Starting, we have no update, but we are going to bring you guys just what we know right now in this Crans, Montana, Switzerland fire there. Dozens are dead, over 100 are injured. Officials say the fire started from sparklers put on champagne bottles. It's believed to be accidental. You're taking a look at a shot from earlier today showing just a growing memorial, of course. The candles, they are going as so many have lost their lives. Again, 40 dead, 100 plus injured is what we know right now. Of course, we're going to continue to follow it. Plus, over some news we've been following through the last 3 days, nearly 8 hours, and more than 8 hours, I should say. The deposition of Jack Smith was released. There were a few moments that were off the record, but that deposition has since been released. Continuing to also follow the release of the Epstein files. When we get more news on all of this, we will bring it to you first right here on Brooklyn News. A big story we've been following throughout the last little bit as well. The FBI thwarting this ISIS-inspired attack in North Carolina. This is Director Cass Patel of the FBI over on X. He said, quote, "The FBI and partners foiled another potential New Year's Eve attack from an individual allegedly inspired by ISIS. FBI Charlotte will be speaking at a press conference shortly. That press conference has since happened. We showed you a clip of it at the top of the hour. Thanks to our great partners for working with us and undoubtedly saving lives there." So that's the update coming in right now on that attack there. Also, we've been following Trump's health. In an impromptu Washington Journal interview, he spoke a little bit out on that, saying it's because of his high dose of aspirin and the shaking of hands that his right hand is left with bruising. That is what he is saying there. So a lot of news. We're going to continue to follow it all. We'll be right back here. I'll tell you, this is when you can join us. If we've been having some issues today with some of our graphics and things, it might work. It doesn't look like it is going to, so we tried. We did our best. Give me 1 second. I might be able to get it up for you. But you can join us here weekdays. And in just a moment, I'll show you when our little graphic that says when you can join us. That is, yes, it's working. Okay. You can join us weekdays right here on Brooklyn News Live at 2 p.m. We're only doing 1 hour. We used to do 3. Now we're doing 1. That's totally fine. Nothing. We're still going to make sure that we're able to get into all the top stories that we've been following. So that still remains our goal. Our goal still remains getting you all the news you need and more here. That's why we were taking a look at the Mandani press conference that was held a little earlier today. The graphic is ready now. Now we can show you again. That is weekdays at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us then for all the news you need and more. In the meantime, that is going to do it for us on this Friday. We'll see you right back here next week. Thanks for watching, guys.